Hello, everyone, and welcome to SportsZone Special Edition for the 2024 NFL Draft. We are so excited for the best day of the year, and joining me to talk about our mock drafts and just some storylines around the league, I've got Steven Lucero and John Phillips. Guys, it's the most wonderful time of the year.
Best day of my life.
Absolutely. This draft is going to be absolutely incredible, guys. So let's just jump right in, Steven, to your mock draft. All right. We'll start with your top five, so go ahead and tell me what you're thinking. Obviously, we all have the number one pick. But go ahead and start at Caleb Williams.
All right, with the first pick in the 2020-24 NFL Draft, it is Caleb Williams. But after that, that's where it gets a little bit interesting for me. Drake May is actually going to go number 2 over Jaden Daniels in my mock draft. So I made this a few days ago. A little bit has changed in terms of odds. So to me, though, there's just some concerns. We talked about it earlier around Jaden Daniels, whether that's size, durability, age, that 2 years I think is a big thing. So, and then Marvin Harrison, in my opinion, the very best player in the draft, going number 4. And then finally, Malik Neighbors. So that's my top 5.
Awesome. Well, a couple things to talk about here. We'll start on the end here. So Malik Neighbors to the Chargers, that is huge, Steven. I mean, we're talking about a guy who is all around great. And after losing Keenan Allen and Mike Williams, you need someone for Justin Herbert, even though Jim Harbaugh is going to be definitely hard on the run game. So tell me a little bit about what a fit would look like for Neighbors on the Chargers. He's a veteran player, even though he's only 21 years old.
Yeah, absolutely. Malik Neighbors, I mean, if it weren't for this guy right here, he would be the number 1 receiver in this draft. So the Chargers, like you said, lost Mike Williams, lost Keenan Allen. There's been, some smoke, J.C. Latham being a possibility, and I understand that, but to me, wide receiver is the number 1 need on this team. They have to regroup there, and I think that'd be a huge and an excellent fit for Jim Harbaugh's offense.
Yeah, no, J.C. Latham, that would be a Harbaugh guy, right?
Yep.
And we could really see that if they don't trade down. We really could. One thing I wanted to go back to, though, was May at 2. Yeah. So let's talk about the possibility, guys. I know in this situation that Jaden Daniels goes to the Patriots at 3, but they've been vocal about their liking for Drake May. So, guys, if this happened, would the Patriots be taking calls? John, I'll start with you. What do you think?
I think they will be taking some calls because I think Drake May is their QB1 or QB2 in the class. And I think ultimately they stay there because I don't think anyone meets their valuation. But I think they go J.J. McCarthy. I think that's the guy New England's looking at. I think I've seen some smoke towards it, and I think he'd be the better pick than Jaden Daniels at 3, too.
Yeah. Now, obviously, at this time, Drake May probably still going to go 3 to the Patriots, and Jaden Daniels going to go 2. But things can change, obviously, as we've seen. But, John, let's go ahead and look at your mock draft here, your top 5, before we go ahead and jump into some spicy picks here in a little bit. Go ahead and tell me about what you got here.
I have Caleb Williams, number 1. As a Bears fan, this is going to be the greatest day of my life. More than my wedding in the future, a kid being born. This is it. The most bust-proof prospect. We have an amazing surrounding cast for him. I'm so excited for this. Number 2, I have Jaden Daniels. Even though I think it's a bad pick, I think it fits Adam Peters, the GM's type for quarterback. The last quarterback he drafted was Trey Lance, and similar. So I think Jaden Daniels, though, he gets sacked too much. He doesn't throw over the middle of the field. He has so many red flags that I would avoid him in the first round, to be honest. But Drake May to the Patriots, what a steal for them, I think. And it's crazy to say a steal at 3, but when you're this talented, it's a steal if you're not going top 2. Yeah. Marvin Harrison Jr., like you said, 6'4", 205, the best receiver in the class, physically gifted, a great route runner, great hands. What can he not do? This guy is the perfect package at receiver. And number 5, I have the Vikings trading up for J.J. McCarthy. I think that J.J. is getting a lot of love in the league, and I think that the Vikings are a team that would really like J.J.'s profile, and I think they'll trade up for him.
Absolutely. Well, some crazy stuff here. I know you said the trade up, and that is certainly realistic. The Vikings have been making calls. You have to make calls. If you want to extend Justin Jefferson, you have to make some calls about trading up, right, and getting your guy. Sam Darnold, just not going to cut it. He made some improvements, but just not going to cut it. Now, I want to go back to what you said about Daniels, though. That's a prospect that I actually really like. I think Jaden Daniels possesses a lot of veteran qualities. He's been in college football for 5 years. He's shown steady improvement every single year. He's a great rushing quarterback, 1,000 rushing yards, over 1,000 rushing yards. And was the Heisman Trophy winner. So we're talking about a guy who's very, very talented. Now, I do like Drake May better as a prospect, but for a team who made some big moves in free agency, you got to win now. And Dan Quinn really wants to win now. So this might be Dan Quinn's guy, guys. I mean, really, truly. So let's go ahead and take a look at my mock draft, my top 5. Obviously, have Caleb Williams at number 1 overall. Who's surprised? He is going to be the next superstar quarterback in the NFL. And then number 2, got Jaden Daniels. I gave you the lowdown on him already as well. Drake May, huge fan. Think that he has a sky-high potential as a quarterback. Great arm. Underrated rushing ability, guys. Guy that can do some damage with his legs as well. And then kind of interesting here, we're kind of all over the place on McCarthy. And honestly, McCarthy is an interesting one. I think, guy, we told you guys earlier that he is not attending the draft tonight, despite it being in Michigan. So that is interesting to watch for, but I do have the Giants jumping up to acquire J.J. McCarthy. In theory, he would sit behind Daniel Jones for about a season, maybe less, honestly, but he would sit behind him and kind of just learn from Daniel Jones as much as he can before stepping into that situation that's not entirely great. But that provides my number 5 pick, which would be a slam dunk home run pick of Marvin Harrison at number 5 there to the Chargers. Now, we're talking about a team that already made some moves in free agency to try to get better in the run game, but I mean, that would be incredible. We're talking about, Steven, I agree with you, the best prospect in the NFL draft this year, and I think he is just absolutely incredible. So Marvin Harrison Jr. to the Chargers in this situation. Tell me what you guys feel about that. Come on, crazy.
Chargers fans would be thanking everyone. They'd be so happy. That would be such a steal. It would really unlock Justin Herbert, I think, because Keenan Allen, great. Is it crazy to say Marvin Harrison Jr. might be an upgrade pretty early on? I think he might be that good, and I think it's really going to open that offense up.
For sure. Well, guys, let's go ahead and look at my spicy picks real quick. Going to go through these kind of quickly. We have some similar ones. So we got Troy Franklin here to the Chiefs. I think he is a freak specimen and kind of a counterpart well with Marquise Brown, especially with that uncertainty with Rashee Rice. And then we've got Graham Barton to the Cowboys. That's been mocked a lot. I think it makes a lot of sense for him to move inside to center. I have my Pittsburgh Steelers, trading up once again for a tackle with Talise Fuaga. He also has the ability to play inside. Would he be the franchise's starting center this year? Potentially. And then we look at Michael Penix Jr. at number 4. Raiders trade back into the first round at number 30 and acquire Michael Penix, get that 5th-year option. That's kind of an interesting one as well. And then finally, Bo Nix to the Broncos. They could move back as well. I could totally see that happening with them moving back in the draft and still acquiring Bo Nix. But I think that they're dead set on Bo Nix. I mean, you cannot start Zach Wilson or Jarrett Stidham this offseason or this upcoming season.
Yeah, I have to agree. I mean, as much as I think Bo Nix is a reach there, it's better than starting Zach Wilson. Yeah.
For sure. Well, John, let's go ahead and take a look at your spicy picks here. And tell me about what you've got coming up.
So number 1, I have Brock Bowers going to the Jets. I think less spicy, more than interesting. I think because it's a luxury pick for a team, you don't really see making that. Because I think the Jets are a great roster, and I think Brock Bowers gives them a weapon that they need next to Garrett Wilson for Aaron Rodgers. And my next pick, I have Jared Verse going to the Broncos at 12. I see them taking Bo Nix or trading back, but I think Jared Verse is a pass rusher the league loves with his power and speed, and I think that's going to be a pass rusher they need. J.J. McCarthy at 5. I talked about him a little bit, but I love J.J. McCarthy. He is the most underrated quarterback in this class. People say, oh, he didn't have to do much in Michigan. I see that as a positive. He didn't develop any bad habits. He still has a great arm. He's pretty mobile. He's big. I think that is a quarterback you can mold into exactly what you want, and I think it's going to be a great pick for the Vikings. I also have Michael Penix going to the Raiders, but I didn't have him trading back up to 30. I have him going at 13 because I think they like him that much. He has a great arm, not the most mobile, injury concerns, old, but I think that arm talent wins over the front office in Las Vegas. And my final spicy pick is a player that's a little bit less known, Roger Rosengarten, offensive tackle for Washington. I'm going 31 to the 49ers. And you know why? Connections. That's what's important in sports like these.
Yeah.
He's being trained by Joe Staley. His high school coach was Ed McCaffrey. They brought him in for a visit. He runs their scheme. I think this is a perfect fit and will be probably the biggest reach of the first round, the L.J. Collier, the Clelin Ferrell of this draft.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. Well, Steven, let's go ahead and look at yours real quick here. Tell me about, you got Brock Bowers again at the Jets.
Yeah, I think it's a perfect fit. I mean, the Jets, it's weird to say sometimes, but I think they're one of the most complete teams in the NFL right now. But this is a can't-miss player. I mean, he's more than just a tight end. He's that Kelsey, that Kittle level to where he can transform an entire offense. So to me, for Aaron Rodgers, this is obviously going to be a huge, huge move for them. We'll see, but I think that's really going to be the best pick. This one is very interesting to me. Brian Thomas at 28. This is one that, it's very likely he could go far earlier. It's just the way this draft fell. But for the Bills to be able to replace Stephon Diggs just like that with another excellent receiver, I think they'd love that. Same thing here with A.D. Mitchell, the Chiefs. Again, they've gotten better at receiver. I think Hollywood Brown is going to be a good upgrade. There's been a lot of smoke about Xavier Worthy, but I think it's just kind of too similar of a player. I think A.D. Mitchell's a little bit different, someone Mahomes can definitely count on, though. J.J. McCarthy, I did have him in 11 just because I didn't do trades in this draft, but this is going to be an interesting player. I think where he goes will determine the rest of this draft because quarterbacks, we don't know. I think it reminds me a lot of last year. Will Levis, everyone thought he was going to go 3 to the Colts. He didn't even go in the first round. So by the way, these shake up. I think it's really going to determine the rest of the draft. And then finally, Jared Verse here at number 9. I think this is just a value pick here. it's tough, I think with the edges, but I think they're going to go a lot earlier than everyone thinks. So Jared Verse, I think they're going to go ahead and pick him up. It's a great pick right there.
Well, you've heard our takes, guys, but coming up, you'll hear some takes from social media that are a little bit outlandish, so stay with us.
A 20-minute walk? I don't want to do this right now.
Don't worry, you can just use Transit.
Transit? What's that?
Transit is a mobile app that provides real-time tracking to connect buses, UNT shuttles, and even A trains. Simply download the app, then tap on the search bar and type where you want to go. In a matter of seconds, you get results for all available routes. And the best part of it is, it's completely free for UNT students. What are you doing?
I'm downloading it right now.
Download Transit today and remember, make life better without a car.
Did you know you have access to video equipment like DVDs, video games, and cameras? That's right, you do. Come on down to Chilton Library and fulfill your media dream. Located on the bottom floor next to the student sculpture. Hope to see you there soon.
Hey girl, you know you look good. I like the way you move and groove. I'm not sure.
Well, guys, we are back now on SportsZone, our draft special, and we're going to be looking at some takes from around social media that are a little bit crazy, and we're going to be rating them from hot to cold. So joining me to do that is Jazra Williams and Jalen Alexander. Guys, we found some tweets the other day, or some X posts, as we should say, that are crazy. So let's go ahead and jump right into it. Now, let's talk about our scale here. We got a scale from 1 to 5 of these takes, and just a reminder that these takes are not if it won't happen, but more about the creativity behind it and things of that sort. So we got a scale from 1 to 5. That's freezing, small chance, heating up, scorching, and burning hot. I didn't have this memorized, so we'll go ahead and take a look at it anyway. I know you guys do. So let's jump into the first tweet here. I'm going to read it off here, and it's from @DaveClinton4 on X. It's that Caleb Williams will be the biggest bust in NFL history, guys. That is absolutely crazy. I mean, what kind of a take do you guys know? Jazra, we'll start with you. This is crazy. I mean, do we actually believe this?
I think people have been looking forward to his downfall since he was playing in college. So I think that it's going to be interesting why people would say this, especially Jake. I don't know if you're in the right state of mind or if you're a little bit inebriated, but I think that our top 3 picks are definitely set with Caleb Williams.
And Jalen, what do you think?
I mean, I don't even know what to say to this one. This is just pure hater energy to me.
Right.
I've always been a Caleb Williams fan, and what he does, like, just saying he's going to be the biggest bust in NFL history, there's no way he could be even remotely close to being worse than Jamarcus Russell. So.
All right, guys, and for me, I absolutely agree. I think that Caleb Williams is a cannot-miss prospect. I mean, he is absolutely incredible. To say this, just trying to get clicks, let's be honest. So, Jazra, what do you think that this pick is on a scale of 1 to 5, from freezing to burning hot?
I think this pick is definitely ridiculous.
Yeah.
So we're going to go with a 5. That's
the 5 here. Okay.
Burning hot pick.
Okay.
And I'm going to go with the 5, too. I mean, this is just kind of, it's insane to say the least.
Yeah.
So it's insane to say. I'm going to give it a 5.
Okay. Well, I'm going to give it a 5 as well. I think this is absolutely just egregious. That's one way of putting it. Well, let's go ahead and get to some other ones here. And the take that we're going to get to next is from from Dave Clinton, and that's going to be I've got the Chargers taking Bowers at 5. That's Brock Bowers, the tight end out of Georgia. This one, honestly, not as crazy. This is we went from kind of our craziest pick to our craziest take to kind of a less crazy take here. This could actually happen, guys. I mean, Jalen, we were talking about this earlier. This is like seriously possible. What do you think about this?
I feel as if, like, whenever the college football season ended, we kind of saw some mock drafts, and there were actually real mock drafts taking Brock Bowers at 5. And at the time, I was like, well, yeah, this could really happen. And then, they end up losing their 2 best guys, and the next thing you know, you're going to start seeing Malik Neighbors and maybe even Marvin Harrison up there. But Brock Bowers could seriously become a Los Angeles Charger. And, I mean, I don't think it's crazy hot of a take. If it was up to me, I would probably rate it, I would probably go 3.
Okay.
And because it's a serious thing that can happen, but yeah.
Yeah, for sure. Jazra, what do you think?
I think that it'll be interesting as far as, Jim Harbaugh taking over with that. I think that, it'll be interesting to see if he goes with the O-line route, because we have seen J.C. Latham, as far as going there, or if he'll go the receiver route, so maybe a tight end or even, a Malik Neighbor. So I think it'll be interesting to see where his mindset is as far as the future of this season.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, we talked about this at the beginning of the season in terms of Brock Bowers and his prospecture, and he was getting mocked at 5 to the Chargers once the NFL season ended for a little bit. I think we just don't want a repeat of Kyle Pitts, and so some people aren't mocking that. But guys, this could happen today. I'm going to give this a 2. I don't think it's that hot of a take. I think this is seriously. There's a possibility that Brock Bowers just go 5 to the Chargers. That would be a Jim Harbaugh pick. But to your point as well, I could see J.C. Latham being selected as well. So gonna have to see what happens.
Heavy type of guy.
Yeah, right. For sure. Gonna have to see what happens there. We'll go ahead and take a look over at the next one, and that's Cowboys trade Dak to Minnesota from MRY Atta. Cowboys trading Dak to the Minnesota Vikings. Wow. I mean, wow.
That's a take.
Well, there has been rumors this offseason that Dak would be traded, right? And it was, the Raiders were interested. Minnesota's an interesting one, guys, because you started to think about it, right? 2 first-round picks. You would have the draft capital to move for Dak Prescott. So, Jazra, what do you think about this?
I know that Minnesota is very desperate for a quarterback, but I don't think that the Cowboys are going to give it up for Dak. I think that Dak, we talk about how much Dak has disappointed the Cowboys, but I don't think that they're going to go that far.
Yeah, I would agree. What about you, Jalen?
I think Minnesota's just tired of kind of go and getting veteran quarterbacks. I just think they want somebody new. And honestly, with Dak, I thought just saying this that's honestly for clicks too.
That has to be.
And at that point, it's just like, why would you even say that? But for me, that's definitely a 5.
Okay.
That's insane.
Yeah, I'm going to have to agree with you.
That's also going to be a 5.
Burning, scorching hot take. But honestly, we're talking about things that happen in the NFL. This wouldn't be the craziest thing I've ever seen, honestly. Obviously, the Dak Prescott contract situation is huge, so that would definitely be something. But you think about having to extend just Justin Jefferson and Dak Prescott, yikes.
I think they just go for a guy that just makes sure that Justin Jefferson stays there in general.
J.J. McCarthy. That's what J.J. McCarthy is, right? Yeah. But, hey, you never know. You really don't. So this obviously is something that could definitely happen. Well, let's take a look at the next tweet here from 13 Oleg. I think Oleg, maybe? I don't really know what his Twitter ad is, but they said the Bengals will trade T. Higgins and draft picks for the Cardinals' first rounder. Bengals would then select Marvin Harrison. Now, guys, T. Higgins to the Cardinals, that's not crazy. We could really see T. Higgins to the Cardinals. But to get Marvin Harrison, you'd have to get the 4th overall pick. No way in the world are the Cardinals giving up the 4th overall pick for T. Higgins, unless they give their first-round pick. And then at that point, I would argue that you're giving up too much if you're the Bengals. So I don't know. I don't know, guys. You tell me. How do you feel about this, Jalen?
I think this is giving up way too much. And honestly, I was just looking at, and we saw yesterday that T. Higgins actually wanted out of Cincinnati. So it's not crazy to see. And the date's not on there, but this tweet was April 13th. So it's like he had to know something, and he just requested a trade yesterday. And just thinking about it, it's just crazy to say. I mean, the Bengals would be giving up way too much. And honestly, sometimes the 4th pick isn't that valuable in a way whenever you just have your top 3 guys. Yeah. And I feel like that's how it is this year. Even though the talent's so deep, that 4th pick I don't think is as valuable to give up a lot of capital.
So what are you giving this on a scale of 1 to 5?
I would give this a 5. I don't think it happens.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay, Jazzer, what do you think?
T. Higgins has been very wishy-washy about staying in Cincinnati, but like you said, he just requested a trade. So the first initial sentence didn't sound completely terrible.
I agree.
And then they came with the second sentence. I was like, okay, whoa, we need to slow down. A little hopeful here. I don't think that's going to happen. I think that it's probably a 4 as far as that's not going to happen.
Yeah, I gave it a 4 as well. I think that it could happen. There's a world where it could happen if the Bengals were to give up 18 and T. Higgins for the number 4 overall pick. But at that point, I mean, you can only get so many targets if you're Marvin Harrison alongside Jamar Chase. So it's like, do you really want to give up all that capital for a guy who may not even get to 1,000 yards his rookie year if he's on your team?
But that receiving core.
Look, I get it. You just lost Tyler Boyd as well, but I don't know. That's a lot to give up.
That's risky.
A lot to give up. Yeah, T. Higgins has been great for you. So, he could get an extension. We never know. Let's go ahead and go to the next one. J.J. McCarthy falling out of round 1. He said J.J. falls out of round 1. And that's Joe Palermo, 571. It's J.J. McCarthy, R1, round 1. there's no way, guys.
Yeah, that's just not
There's no
going to
way.
happen.
I mean, maybe in like last year before Michigan won the championship,
Right.
but I don't think
Yeah.
so, right?
No. It's QB1, national championship, first of all. So he has the resume for it. There are some things that need to be ironed out for sure, but Minnesota's too desperate for a quarterback and possibly a newer face. So JJ, he's not falling out of round one. It's just not going to happen.
Jalen, what do you think?
Joe, you've just been searching for attention at this point, and I don't even.
You got the verify. He's verified,
Yeah,
guys.
I don't
Come
know.
You
on.
can pay for verification now.
Yeah, that pick's not very verified.
But this guy's just looking for attention at this point.
Right.
And I'm not even that much of a supporter of JJ McCarthy because I'm an Ohio State fan. But falling out of round one is utterly insane.
Yeah.
For a guy who's been mocked at 3, maybe even 2. So this is a 5 on my scale. Like whenever I saw this, my jaw was dropped, bro. I couldn't even do it, bro. I was like, this is going on the show.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, this is absolutely insane. There's no way that he falls out of round one. There's no way, guys.
Right.
But let's go ahead and get rid of these social media takes and talk about our own takes. We've got some takes on who's overrated and underrated in the draft, so don't go anywhere.
Good evening. My name is Amanda Hasbell, and I'm joining you here today in the Union Parking Garage. Today we're going to be going over how to drive safely in the parking garage. Let's go see. Oh my God! Oh my God! This girl just got hit by a car. Let's go see what happened. Ma'am, are you okay? Are you okay?
Did you see that lady hit me with a car?
Yeah, we did. I got it all on video.
Oh my God.
Let's go over here and talk about how we can prevent that.
Yeah, not the hospital.
Well, right now we're going to ask you a couple questions on how we can drive safely in the parking lot. What are ways that we can be aware of our surroundings?
Oh, we can look both ways.
Jenna, also, how about putting the distractions away?
Yes, just like our phones, turning our music down, and also not focusing on our passengers.
Where can you get information on how to get a parking pass?
Transportation.unt.edu.
If you park in a garage, make sure you pay on the app or look for further instructions on how you should pay.
And remember, no pass, no park. Let's all try to keep our Mean Green community safe.
Remember, we're all in this together.
Drive safe.
Welcome back to SportsZone, everyone. Let's get into our overrated and underrated players in this year's draft. And here to do that with me, Mackenzie Freeman and Jose Moreno. Guys, I know you guys, you're veterans. You're going to have some spicy picks here. So let's just jump right in. Let's start with our number one guy, and that's Bo Nix. You both have an opinion on Bo Nix. So let's get that out of the way first before we get into everything else. So let's go ahead and take a look at Bo Nix's stats here, guys. Well, Jose, what do you think about Bo Nix, first of all?
I think Bo Nix is right now the most underrated quarterback right next to Michael Penix. Clearly, he's got something right now that is in him that screams star to me, to be honest. Right now, like, he needs a system that can really fit him, and I can see him in a vertical passing system, something similar to my favorite team, the Denver Broncos vertical pass system right now. The guy did not have many good offensive coordinators in college when he was at Auburn. He actually had 3 different ones in his 3 years in Auburn. He also had a coaching change halfway through, and that team, let's be honest, Drew, it was melting like ice cream in June. So he was on a sinking ship. He left, jumped over to Oregon, and yeah, you can say he was carried by receivers, but clearly what everyone kind of forgets is the spread offense wasn't such a hurry-up offense. It wasn't so fast-paced. Nix needs a slower offense that he can command and be a general for, and that's what Oregon offered for him. And I think in a team like Washington, like the Denver Broncos, in which you need a slower offense in a division with so much fast pace, I think Nix is a diamond in the rough, but I do understand the detractors. What do you say, Mackenzie?
Yeah, what do you think? You think he's overrated? I mean, we just heard that he's underrated here.
Listen, I do think he is highly overrated.
Look at these stats. Come on. Oh, by the way.
Wait. Let me talk. You haven't even let me say one point. Let me talk. Let me cook for a second, okay? First thing, I know you mentioned the Auburn thing, but to be fair, he was drafted there. He knew it, or not drafted, but he selected to go to that school. He knew what he was getting into. His stats there were abysmal. You put him in the Pac-12 where the defenses suck. Yeah, he has his best season. You put Caleb Williams there. His team wasn't winning, but he was still putting up great numbers. And then there's just a lot of things that concern me with Bo Nix, looking at, how he passes and how he utilizes his arm. he's good short range, but I kind of have trust issues with his long ball.
Continue.
And then his age could be a concern. He is going to be one of the older quarterbacks taken in this draft. And if he was taken in any other draft, he would not even be a third-round pick. He would go like fourth round.
Wow. Okay, so we clearly have different opinions here, Jose and Mackenzie, okay? But let's go ahead and jump into some other prospects. You guys can hash this out after the show. Let's jump into we were supposed to do Jaden Daniels first. That was my fault. But we'll do Jaden Daniels first because we got to go back to this. Jose thinks Jaden Daniels, the potential second overall pick, is overrated. Guys, look at these stats. What's the Heisman winner? 1,000 rushing yards. And 4
Yeah, the thing about it is he's tall, he's lanky, but that's all he's got. He's fast, he can run, but in a league where he can't throw short, again, when you're a rookie quarterback, you say that Knicks can throw short and that's all he can do. But when you start out in the league, you can't exactly throw deep because receivers are a lot faster. Corners are a lot stronger. So when you look at someone like Jaden Daniels, who can't throw deep, who can't throw short, all he can really rely on is his legs and his athleticism. He's not going to survive when a guy like Khalil Mack, who's the size of a freaking bus, is going to run right through him like a group of children at school. I mean, I'm sorry, that's just he's not gonna survive. He's a bug about to enter a zoo full of bears.
Man, well, clearly Dan Quinn and Adam Peters disagree with you, and I also do. But Mackenzie, you think Cooper DeJean's overrated, and that's a guy who people think is underrated.
Real lunch pail type of guy. First one in.
All right. Well, okay, Mackenzie, what do you think about Cooper DeJean? I mean, not great stats, but let's be honest, he was hurt this season. So go ahead and jump in.
My first thing you mentioned, he was injured, and one of his biggest weaknesses that analysts at the NFL Draft Combine pointed out was his hip mobility. You're telling me a guy with hip mobility problems who is injury prone is going to go in the league as a corner and do well? No, he's going to be mid if he is a cornerback. Your best bet, put him at safety because he is good when he's in that drop back coverage, but he can't play he can't play tight. And in a league with Jamar Chase and athletes like that, he's going to get burned if he has to play tight. So your best bet is at safety. No way I would take him in the first round as a cornerback.
Wow. Well, you got a different opinion on Dallas Turner, who's another guy who's been hyped up the past several months and then all of a sudden has taken a downturn. We thought that the Falcons were going to take him at number 8 overall, and then now it doesn't look like they're going to. So tell me, I agree with you. I think Dallas Turner is being criminally underrated right now, but you tell me why.
To me, it shocks me that an Alabama edge is not being looked at seriously by the Patriots. It shocks me. The guy's got 10 sacks. He's been a beast his whole 4 years at Alabama. He's coachable. The only
under the Saban era.
Only L I see with the guy is he doesn't have the mass needed for an outside.
But he can bounce back out and play
coverage. Always eat a cheeseburger. You can always eat a chicken fried steak and put some weight on it.
I agree, but he's also a guy who can bounce out in coverage. So if you're in a 3-4, he can bounce out and play some zone coverage.
He's so useful. Put him on the right. Add that pressure on the right. You leave the left open, boom, you got a sack right there. The guy's going to be integral to be building a consistently good defense. I don't see how this guy's not a top 5. Wow. And you know what? Maybe I'm casual for picking a guy in the first round. But any other draft, like you said, this guy's a top 3 pick. This guy would be the guy that people would be saying, does anyone else think that Dallas Turner could become an all-time defensive end in the league? That's the type of guy we see. But this year, just nothing on him because I guess everyone is just smoke-screened by the overrated quarterbacks that are not with the last name Knicks.
Well, speaking of those quarterbacks with last name Knicks, Michael Penix. That's a guy that you wanted to talk about today. So Michael Penix, great season this year at Washington, went to the national championship. Look at these stats here. I mean, this jumps off the page, but Bo Nix, 77.4% completion for Bo Nix, whereas it was 65%.
Who cares about the stats? The guy brings winning to teams. He brought an Indiana team that only had 1 to 2 winning seasons in its past 15 years. He took them to a 7 seed, and people were still doubting him. He goes over to the Washington Huskies, the Boar himself, one of the college football's best coaches, calls upon him personally. I want you to be my quarterback. Here are the keys to my team. Anyone else would crumble like some cookies. But the guy stands up for himself, gets nearly 5,000, leads them to a national championship. And we still got people like Wyatt Schott going, yeah, I just don't really think he's got it in him left because he tore an ACL a couple of years back. You know who else tore an ACL and bounced back? Tom freaking Brady. This guy's got it, man. He's up next.
All right, well, Mackenzie, you've got someone who's underrated that people may not have heard of. Ray Davis from Kentucky, a guy that, might go in the latter rounds, but can really do some damage. Nice stats here this season. Almost 6 yards a rush. That is, at the college level, that's not as impressive as it would be in the NFL, but still very good for a team who struggled offensively all year long. So tell me about Ray Davis here.
Yeah, Ray Davis, I think he's a great prospect. He had 29 rushing touchdowns over his career, as well as 12 receiving touchdowns. This guy is a dual threat running back. And then I'm a Tennessee fan. He cooked against Tennessee when Kentucky played Tennessee. I believe he had like 5 or 6 touchdowns, something crazy like that. This guy, he not only knows how to take a hit, but he can also hit hard. And I think if he can bring that into the league, any team will be lucky to have him. Especially, he's projected to go 4th round. I believe PFF has him ranked as the 6th ranked running back. But, if it's the right fit, he could be a steal in the 2nd round, for teams that are hurting for that running back position.
Absolutely. We see running backs all the time. The value is scattered all over the place, and then we see them go earlier than we thought. So certainly someone to watch. Jonathan Brooks, some other guys in the 2nd round, but this guy too.
I was shocked that they had Jalen Wright above him. Jalen Wright's good, but the way Davis plays, I would honestly probably pick him over Wright.
For sure, and we'll talk about Jalen Wright a little bit later, but I want to talk about someone myself. Keon Coleman is a guy that we've kind of watched all season long. This is a guy, his stats don't jump off the page, but Lord have mercy, this guy is huge. He's 6'4", guys. He's 6'4", 225. He is massive, and you can tell right here, he is a dog. He's a dog. Look at him. 13 yards per reception, not a world beater on the stat sheet.
He's kind of like DK Metcalf.
He's like DK Metcalf.
Yeah.
He is a big
the same things that
receiver.
people knocked Metcalf for, the same things people are knocking him for.
For sure.
And even you got some hate earlier in the office for picking this guy.
No, I agree with this pick. I definitely think he's underrated. I think he'll, do great when he gets into the NFL.
Absolutely. Well, speaking of guys that will do great in the NFL, we've got some guys right from the DF Dub that are going to be really good in the NFL. We'll talk about them next block. Stay with us.
The DF Dub.
Draft, we have some guys here from DFW who absolutely are the stars of the show. And here to tell me about those guys, here to tell you about those guys, are Adam C. and Gabby Pippins. Guys, let's talk about some prospects from DFW. Adam, I know you're from Denton, me too. Gabby, where are you from? Tell everyone where you're from.
I'm actually from around the North Dallas area.
All right, so still from Dallas-Fort Worth. So we'll talk about some local prospects here. Let's go ahead and jump in. Adam, you first. We'll talk about some of your guys. First off, let's go ahead and talk about JT Sanders, a guy right from Denton Ryan. I believe your alma mater. So talk about JT Sanders here.
Correct, sir. Jatavian Sanders. He's from my alma mater, Denton Ryan, one-time state champion. Looking at the guy, obviously really good. And the thing about him in the NFL that I really like, he's like a German tank with a football helmet. He's hard to bring down. He's fast. He's strong. He can catch the ball, but he can't get separation. And some of his weaknesses is blocking. He just lets guys run by him. It's one of his Worst traits, in my opinion, he's going to have to work on that to become a real NFL tight end. However, I think he's got potential in the league, especially as kind of a Jake Ferguson type.
Yeah, for sure. And then talking about another guy from Texas, Gabby, right off the bat here, Byron Murphy II, a guy who's skyrocketed. I mean, absolutely skyrocketed up draft boards. We're talking about a guy who might go top 10 tonight. So, Gabby, tell me about Byron Murphy here at Texas. He's got some good stats on the board here. 35 tackles, 8 sacks, 15 tackles for loss from your area in Dallas, DeSoto. So, tell me a little bit about Byron Murphy.
Yeah, I mean, he's a great defensive tackle out of UT Austin here in Texas, and he did graduate from DeSoto High, so very local to the area and also local to where I'm from as well. Even though he didn't start off too strong, he didn't have many starts in his freshman and sophomore year. He did get up there in the junior year, becoming an official starter, and I think he's done a really good job since then. He was named to the Big 12 Defensive Tackle of the Year right next to his teammate Devondre Sweat, so I think that's very great accomplishments. And yeah, I mean, he's just got a lot of really great strengths. I don't know if you want to go into those right now or.
Yeah, for sure. He is an athletic freak. I mean, this is a guy who on the defensive line is going to get to the quarterback quick, like Johnny Newton from Illinois, a guy who's small but can get inside, right? He can dive deep between the center and the guards. This is a guy who's going to be very scary to watch, especially for teams like Minnesota who might draft him. The Raiders are interested as well. These are teams where this guy could be making an impact alongside some really good edge rushers like Max Crosby, a guy who can just slip through the gap. Byron Murphy's going to be a really good NFL player. Well, sticking on your guys, Gabby, let's talk about Brandon Coleman, a guy who's also from Denton, and his TCU career, he has been pretty freaking good. I mean, let's look at his stats here. 3 sacks allowed, 0.24% sack rate, and then 11 QB hurries allowed in his career. A guy who, look at him, like, you know, he came from Denton, right? And then now he's a dog, right? 77 is a good number to wear as a tackle. Broderick Jones, my boy, wearing 77. So let's talk about Brandon Coleman, Gabby.
Yeah, I mean, he's really great as well, offensive lineman from TCU. He did graduate right here from Denton High, and I think he's going to be a really great addition to the draft. He's got so many different accomplishments. I really just wish I could go through the line here, but he made the Senior Bowl this year. Last year, he was second team All Big 12, also second team All Academic. So just really stacked accomplishments throughout the line.
Yeah, and Adam, let's talk about another Denton guy. Denton Ryan, Amani Bailey, TCU. These Denton guys in TCU, man. TCU is recruiting their Denton guys, and I can see why.
Jordan Bailey as well. You'll see him in a couple
absolutely.
years.
Yep. Amani Bailey is a really, really good player. He's going to be a guy who might get picked like we talked about Ray Davis last vlog from Kentucky. It's another guy who could go a little higher than people think. Tell me about him.
So right now, people are projecting him as undrafted. However, I think that he could have a James Robinson-esque career. Those 2 years can have that 1,000-yard season. His only weakness, and really one of his worst weaknesses, he's 5'7", 183 pounds. The guy is real short stacked, with all due respect. However, in the NFL, it's a different game now. That can work. He could be a slot receiver. He could be a running back because you would agree, right? The current NFL rushing game now, the running game is not as prolific as it used to be. Yeah. As long as you have a good O-line, that's kind of what they want. Good O-line, fast running back. He's got great vision.
Yeah.
He can rip right off the line of scrimmage, and once he's gone, he's gone.
Well, you know what? Undrafted running backs are making a huge impact in the NFL nowadays. Like you said, the run game is different. It's a different run game. You can get guys on a discount, like getting an undrafted free agent. This is one of them.
And I like to point this out, 5.9 yards per carry. I mean, like, legit, this guy can run. He's hard to bring down. He's got muscular legs despite his size. I know 5'7" might scare off a lot of teams, but I think he's a gem waiting to happen. Last year, 1,200 rushing yards, 8 touchdowns. This kid's a gem, I'm telling you. Yeah. All he needs is a team to take a chance on him. He's a workhorse.
Well, you can tell we love our Denton guys here. Let's go ahead and talk about another guy from Duncanville. This is a guy who can go in the first round, latter half for sure, but Ennis Rakestraw is from Missouri. He actually was in the Cotton Bowl this year and had a really, really good career out of Duncanville. This is a guy who is solid. He can go at the back end of the first round. He could be a guy taken in the mid-20s. I mean, this is a guy we get to go higher than we think. So tell me about Ennis Rakestraw, Gabby. Or Adam.
I think that Ennis Rakestraw, I think the kid's got potential. Early second-round pick, in my opinion, and I know that some people might be scared away by the one interception, but that's one of his biggest strengths. He's got one of the best press. He doesn't have the speed that most cornerbacks have. He's a little bit undersized. However, the kid's physical. He's got strength, and you'll be hard-pressed to beat his press. And what I'm going to say is that kid is locked down. I see him kind of as like a Richard Sherman style cornerback, and I think that this kid's got potential. Whoever drafts this kid, they're not going to regret it.
Yeah, for sure. Ennis Rakestraw is a great player. I mean, this is a guy, like I said, he's going to go higher than people think. Let's go ahead and talk about Jalen Ford. That's your guy, Jalen Ford. He's from Frisco Lone Star. So a lot of these are very local to Denton. I mean, we're talking about some teams that are 30-ish minutes away. So Jalen Ford is a stud. And we're going to kind of break down some film on Jalen Ford later. But Gabby, go ahead and give me your initial thoughts on the Texas linebacker.
Yeah, I mean, he is a linebacker out of UT Austin in Texas, like you just said, and he did graduate from Frisco High School. So I think that's a really great thing for him, especially bringing a lot of these local DFW people into the draft possibly. And yeah, I mean, I know I've been talking about accomplishments all night, but he's got first, second, third team All-American, first, second, third academic. I mean, his accomplishments are just very stacked here. And I think he's got a lot of great strengths, you know, his ability to sort of pursue the ball to perimeter, especially with inside out leverage. I think that's a really great thing that he's got, especially considering how much he has improved. Starting from whenever he was a freshman in college and maybe even in high school up to now, just seeing how his accomplishments have sort of racked up over the years. So I think he's definitely going to be a good pick. I'm not sure which round he'd be drafted in, but I feel like someone's definitely going to pick him up.
Yeah, absolutely. Jalen Ford is a stud. We have a lot of Texas guys here that have gone, Texas and TCU, which is great. It's great that we're having guys go in-state. But let's talk about the outlook of these guys going in the draft that are local. Is this kind of more than usual? Adam, you were on the 2023 draft show, and you talked about the local prospects. Is this year's local prospect outlook better than last year's? Is this a pretty good class? What do you think?
It's a great class. I don't think it's as good as last year. Last year was stacked. You had Drew Sanders, you had Christian Gonzalez, you had Rashee Rice, who's going crazy in the NFL right now. I mean, I'm telling you, last year's class was real solid in my personal opinion, and I would personally say that this year might not be as good, but I think you have a little more gems than you did last year. Like, you know, Amani Bailey, Sanders. I think that we got gems compared to last season.
Yeah, absolutely. And Gabby, coming here new doing this block for the first time, do you feel like you've seen are you surprised that there's so many people from DFW that are this highly regarded in the draft, or is this something that you knew that Dallas-Fort Worth was like this? Because really, we know the standard that Texas football sets, especially in Dallas. So Gabby, was this surprising to you to find that this many players were hidden gems like Adam just said, or were you was that the expectation set in Dallas, you feel like?
Yeah, I was honestly expecting it. I mean, I feel like we have a lot of great talent here. We did have more last year going into the draft than now, but we still have great guys. I mean, just going back to the ones that I mentioned, we've got Byron Murphy II, definitely going to be in the first round. I'd be surprised if he was picked later than, say, the 12th pick. And then we've also got other people like the ones that you were talking about. Again, just really great hidden gems, like you said. I would be surprised if none of these guys were picked. I mean, they definitely have a lot that they can bring to the table.
Absolutely. And we're going to go ahead and take a look at some non-local prospects. We're going to take a deeper dive into those prospects when we come back.
The do's and don'ts of the Pole Rec Center. See that man over there? Please do not hog weights. Instead, do this. Another important part is having an attentive spotter. See, here is an example of a non-attentive spotter. Instead, do this. Now we head to the track, which should be pretty easy, it's important to pay attention to the way the track goes. Remember to wipe down the equipment after you're done using it. The towels are provided by the gym, so it's pretty easy to wipe down the equipment when you are done. Thank you for using the Pole Recreation Center.
It's time for my favorite part of the show, and that is film breakdown. I've got Taggart, Kent, and Wyatt Schott here to break down some NFL draft film with me for the first time that we've done this at NTTV, and it's going to be a blast. Guys, I'm so excited for y'all to join me for this film breakdown. let's go ahead and jump right in. Wyatt, we'll go ahead and go with your first guy, and that's going to be Jonathan Brooks.
Yeah, absolutely. Love this prospect. Super fun. He's 6 feet tall, about 210. Out of Hallettsville, Texas. He rushed for 3,500 yards his senior year of high school. Yeah, he was just a stud all around. He's got some miles on him because of that, but he sat 2 years behind Bijan Robinson and Roshan Johnson. A lot of experience. Tashard Choice has done a great job putting that running back room together at Texas, and he's got some awesome film. I'm excited to dive into it.
Yeah, let's go ahead and dive into that Jonathan Brooks film as soon as we can. And this is a guy, like you said, who is a great prospect.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of Jonathan Brooks. So he had a great career at Texas.
Absolutely.
He was on track to win the Doak Walker this year. I think that he would have won it, except he had the ACL tear. The Cowboys are in line to draft him right now, but because they had done all of the medical stuff for Jonathan Brooks, they did his ACL surgery, they did his recovery. They're still comfortable with him. They like how he did it, and they're comfortable taking him.
Yeah.
Here you'll see him, just great patience in the hole. Look how he explodes, and he's off to the races right there. No one's going to catch him. He's got great speed. He's a strider. He looks taller than what he is, and he's an angle buster. Look at the safety right here. He has the angle, has the angle, and then nope, too fast, touchdown. Here's more patience and angle buster. You see the top of the screen. That's Billy Bowman right there. He's an All-American, doesn't have the angle. Bye.
From Denton Ryan. Yeah, right around the corner.
Another Denton Ryan guy. He has some sneaky power here. You'll see the speed. Great offensive line play by Texas there also. But here's the stiff arm right here. Look at that. Makes contact at the 35, and he rides it all the way down to the 5-yard line, finally being taken down. Just great stuff from Jonathan Brooks. I'm a huge fan of his game. Here you got one more highlight. This is going to show some more strength. Good receiving back as well, over 200 receiving yards. Strength right there. Kobe Bryant, one of the top corners in the country. Helmet falls off when he tries to make the tackle. He's got a lot of strength. I just love Jonathan Brooks' game, dude.
I mean, every time he gets a hole, he's gone.
Yeah, he really is.
Absolutely. Now, your guy, Troy Franklin, he's an Oregon Duck. I know you're an Oregon Ducks fan, but this is a guy who everyone's sleeping on, man. He is huge.
I agree, and I think a lot of the comps for him are extremely lazy. I've seen guys like Will Fuller get thrown around, MVS from the Chiefs. I just think it's super lazy to go and watch Troy Franklin film as much as I have. He's probably the guy I've watched most in this year's draft cycle. You see that he's a lot more twitchy as a route runner. He's a much better route runner than guys like MVS. You're going to see here on multiple plays, he's going to set up this corner outside, and he's going to wait for this corner to flip his hips, and that's when he's going to cut right back inside and break that corner's ankles. And that's a good corner for Oregon State, a good physical team that you're going to see later. I do think he struggles a bit with physicality against the press, but the problem with Troy Franklin is you're going to press him, you've got that speed. He's going to torch you. You have to have a great corner, a great fast corner, if you're going to want to press Troy Franklin. Because if he's going to if he's running a post, he's going to cook you. You're going to see him do the same thing here, but he does have a bit of issues tracking the ball. He drops it a bit there. Doesn't have that same tracking ability that I think some of the great deep threats have. You can't see here because he's on the bottom of the screen, but he does have good route running ability, and again, you have worries about that strength. He gets bullied by that same corner that he bullied earlier here. He's going to have the same thing here. He struggles against physical press corners, but he's still a great deep threat. He's a twitchy route runner. I think he's better in space than people give him credit for.
Absolutely. This is a guy I mocked to the Kansas City Chiefs. I mean, I think he should go higher than that. I think he's better than some of the other receivers. I think, he could have a chance to be better than the Texas receivers. I know that's going to...
There's a chance.
Right? But I know why it's like, oh, man, not the Texas receivers. But Troy Franklin's a guy that could be really good. But I think the common view around the league is that he might slide.
It's the size and the frame. And I understand you see a guy who's that tall and he only weighs 180 pounds. But I promise, I know the strength is an issue, but he's so fast, he's going to be good.
Absolutely. Well, let's go ahead and jump into your second guy, Wyatt, and that's going to be Tez Walker.
Yes.
This is a guy that was... believe that he had a transfer issue and he didn't even get to play for several games this season. So his stats, if you look at them, they're not great, but that doesn't matter because this guy is a stud and he was really Drake May's only running mate this season.
No, super interesting story for Tez Walker. He's originally committed to East Carolina, decommits, then he goes to UNC Central. Here you got some of his highlights. Look how he just high points this right here. He's 6'3", 200, and he runs a 4.36. That's stuff that you can't teach.
Oh, man.
I know, you need that second foot down in NFL, but you'll take it in college.
He'll get there.
Yeah. He's just a burner. Deep vertical threat. Great throw by Drake May, and by touchdown.
Let's say, who's throwing that ball, right?
Yeah,
That's
exactly.
a good ball.
No, he's a strider, and that's what you love about his game. He struggles, though, with the route tree overall. He has the skills. I wrote down, he's fast. Is that all? That's what I wrote down when looking at his film. You'll see him high pointer right there against Campbell. Then against Duke, he had some really big catches. Here's one down the sideline. A perfect throw from Drake May.
Wow.
One of my favorite quarterback prospects in the draft.
Absolutely.
But this is the Tez Walker segment. So, but no, another great play. Duke, same spot, same result. It's just great stuff from him. But this is where you struggle. Look at that route. He just doesn't even really cut. He just kind of bleeds into the middle. You get the touchdown, but when you're evaluating draft, you don't really care about that. Here you go. He's in open space. He can't make the guy miss. Just an easy open field tackle for them. And then here's some film against Clemson where he really got worked. He really did. He's at the top of your screen. He runs like just a over the middle route, nothing there. Bottom of your screen now, he tries to run a curl, nothing going. And then there's another clip there where he runs an out route and he cuts it off about 6 yards too short and it gets way thrown over his head. It's just he needs to work on that full route tree to be a full-time outside receiver in the NFL.
He's definitely got the speed. He kind of reminds me of, and I know Jalen Hyatt is a little more well-rounded. He was the Biletnikoff winner last season, but he kind of reminds me of him, kind of a one-trick pony.
Yes.
But can look to kind of bring that up in the NFL. Jalen Hyatt hasn't quite yet, but probably get there.
There's a role for Tez Walker in the NFL, but
Absolutely.
at 6'3", you'd like to see him be an outside receiver. I just don't know if he can do that with this current route tree.
For sure. Well, let's look at a guy that you want to talk about, Taggart, and that's Tyler Guyton. That's a guy that could be selected by the Cowboys, guys. That's a guy that truly could be maybe a Terrence Steele replacement. So let's go ahead and jump into some Tyler Guyton highlights and talk about him for a little bit.
You talk about a Terrence Steele replacement. I'm thinking of more of a Tyron Smith replacement. Look, I understand there's issues with the snaps. You question his ability to run block. Only a 63 PFF run block grade. But the kid is a freak. He's 6'8", 320, has 34-inch arms, and he moves like a 5'4" point guard. There's no reason that when a big man who's 6'8", this size is moving and getting safeties at that quick.
On the second level, that's crazy.
You're going to see him get to the second level again here. He's set up on the outside, and I understand there's still questions about his strength and his run block, but like some of these smaller linebackers, especially now in the league, and here's another example of that edge rusher ended up dropping back in coverage. However, what he does have issues with is bull rush starts and counter moves. You're going to see it here a bit at his Senior Bowl game. As soon as edge rushers, they kind of start and immediately hit him, he kind of backs off it a lot. Again, you see the strength issues, and they'll end up setting up with that counter move and end up getting by him pretty quickly. There was another clip in that Senior Bowl where a guy sets him up outside, kind of jams his arms, rushes back inside and beat him. So you're worried about that play strength. I get it. Tyler Guyton's a project. He's a project, excuse me. It's not a fun pick, but I think he's a good player in the league.
Hey, your last player, Wyatt, Javon Foster. Tell us a little about him.
Yeah, Javon Foster out of Missouri in the class of 2018. He is an older player, but that's what you like out of your offensive lineman. You don't want these young guys coming in because they got a lot to learn, and they got a lot of maturing to do because it's a grown man position. He's about 6'5", 315. Here you go on the left side. He does a really good job of his hand placement. He seals him outside, just locks him up with his arms. He's really physical. Cody Schrader's running back had a good year. Here he is against a 3-tech, and he just boxes him out, and they pick up a big third down. Missouri had a great year, and this guy's part of the reason why. I really like him in run blocking. He has great feet. You'll see him here pulling on the GT counter. He gets to the second level, meets the defensive back, and just lays him out, gets the pancake. Really good in space, and because he's so good in space, I could see a world where they move him to guard maybe, especially because he has a slender frame at 315. I know that's funny to say it's slender at 315, but for these offensive linemen, you want him bigger than that. You want him sitting around 325, maybe even 330. Here he is in pass pro where he has a pretty good rep. Slides his feet, he's staying under the pads, and he locks his arms up. Just great fundamentals right there. And once again, same thing. Against Tennessee, edge rush, he locks his hands early. Whenever he can lock his hands early, that's when he has his best reps. Sometimes he gets caught standing up straight, and guys go right by him. He can chase sometimes, he gets caught doing that. But really just a solid overall offensive line prospect. I can see him going in the 4th round.
Absolutely. And another guy that could go around that range as well, Jalen Wright. We kind of talked about him earlier on an earlier block when we were kind of talking about Ray Davis. Jalen Wright is a running back prospect. The running back room is crazy. I mean, it's all over the place. So tell me about Jalen Wright.
Jalen Wright, look, you can have questions about his play strength. You can have questions about his patience, his vision. You can have questions about his ability to pass pro. You know what you can't question with Jalen Wright is that 4.3 speed. The fastest running back in this class by far. Again, you're going to see here, he does have troubles with vision. There's a hole that opens up on the left side in between the guard and tackle, and he just follows this block. But then there's options here where he's kind of setting up. And I like that there. You see a lot of running backs these days. I'm thinking of a DeAndre Swift type that kind of chop their feet whenever they're making cuts. With him, it's one move and then go. And I really like that about him. And look, I know you want your running backs to be a little more stronger sometimes. You're thinking of like Isaiah Pacheco's. You have the speed, but you're worried about the strength. You're worried about the strength with Jalen Wright, I understand. But 7 yards per carry in college, as soon as he gets into space, there's not a single player on earth I think could catch him.
Absolutely. Great breakdowns there, guys. And when we come back, we'll have some more, but on the defensive side of the ball, so don't go anywhere. Here on NTTV Sports, I'm joined by Jay Lathan, Isaiah Ortiz, and I'm your host, Drew Mowrer. We're going to do some more film breakdown on the defensive side of the ball, so let's jump right in. Let's go ahead and start with a guy that we've been talking about for a minute now, and that's Dallas Turner from Alabama. Tell me about Dallas Turner, Jay, and what this guy can bring to the table, potentially going in the top 10.
I mean, Dallas Turner, big guy here. I mean, out of Alabama pedigree, he's been through Saban's final year. He's probably one of the gems of the draft. I mean, he's a guy that can really do it all. He's got great size. He's got freakish athleticism. He was the second most athletic guy in the combine at his position, man. And I mean, with 10 sacks here, he was also an All-American, and he's one of the few guys that played at Alabama as a true freshman. Can we go to those highlights? Now you're going to look here. He's a smaller frame guy who's going to bull rush. He gets the long arm in there. Now, a lot of people complain that since he's a smaller guy, he doesn't really have the power there. But this is a potential guy. He is strong, and he's young. At 250, he can afford to put on a little bit of weight. But this is a Georgia offensive line. This is an SEC team that he just bulldozed right through the guy.
Absolutely. This is a guy who could seriously do some damage in the league. But we're talking about a guy that's been sliding in mock drafts lately. I mean, we thought he was going to the Falcons at 8. Now he's sliding out of the top 10 in some mock drafts. Jay, tell me about why that is, man.
I think personally, a lot of people have concerns that his tool bag isn't that deep, which is a big concern with younger pass rushers, that their tool bag isn't that deep. It takes him a little bit longer to develop, and because he's a smaller guy, he does have issues if his hands don't get there first. He tends to get engulfed by those bigger tackles.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, Isaiah, we'll go ahead and jump into your first guy, and that is Braden Fisk. This is a guy, he is just an athletic freak. I mean, we saw that at the Combine, and we'll look at his 40 here in a couple minutes, but let's just jump into his play and how good of a player this is. Tell me about him.
Yeah, I really do think he's an underrated prospect in this upcoming draft. A lot of defensive tackles are going to go early in this draft, but I think Braden Fisk is going to be a steal for whoever drafts him in the second round. If we can go to the clip here, I think this is his best play. I think his best attribute is his hustle and his motor. You see right here, first game of the year against Jaden Daniels. Look at him. He kind of dives here. It doesn't look that great at the end, but hits the swim move right here, and he's just chasing Jaden Daniels all across the field. That's what you love to see from your defensive linemen. Players who chase, players who don't give up, players who have motor every single play. That's what you want in your defensive tackle.
Definitely. And we're just talking about his combine. Let's go ahead and take a look at it because it was electric. I mean, this guy, I'm not going to spoil it, but this guy ran a pretty good 40. So let's take a look.
Mind you, 300 pounds as well.
Oh, my goodness, 4.78.
Look how fast he's
moving. That's a lot of mass movement,
We didn't even
man.
get his first 10. Here's his first 10 split right here. Important for defensive linemen. Look at that get off.
Dude.
He is moving.
I thought Kalijah Cansey's 40 last year was impressive. That is incredible. I mean, this guy could go in the first round alone based off his athleticism, and we really could see that. I mean, Buccaneers took Kalijah Cansey last year, the guy I just mentioned, but we could see it again with Braden Fisk. I would not be surprised to see this guy at the tail end of the first round.
Yeah, I agree. I do think Kansas City, they were a team looking for a defensive tackle last year. Tried to look for Mozzie Smith in their draft before the Cowboys took him at 26. Possibly could see him move in that slot at 32 today.
Absolutely. And let's take a look at Kool-Aid McKinstry. Cool name, but he's a cool player too. So this is another guy from Bama, another Saban gem, a guy that's kind of been sliding down draft boards lately. We thought he might go top 10. And Jay, I'll let you talk about the film here.
Oh, yeah, it's Kool-Aid time. I mean, this guy knows ball. I mean, he's a guy with fluid hips. He knows how to recognize the coverage here as he just closes in on a zone in a Saban cover 7 where Saban actually coaches the corners himself. So you're talking about a guy that's come through a system that just knows how to play. And he's a great job of playing through the hands there. The reason he's kind of sliding here is they feel like he relies a little too much on his instincts there, and he doesn't really have that ideal speed, even though he ran a 4.4. He ran in the 4.4s at his pro day, didn't run at the combine due to a fracture. And I mean, the tape shows. I mean, no matter what, the guy knows ball, and I mean, you'll have an oh yeah smile if your team gets him.
Absolutely. The tape always talks, and the tape talks on a guy that we'll talk about from you, Tyler Nubin. I mean, safeties are not a premium position, but dang, if they were, Tyler Newman would be a first-round pick for sure.
100%. He's a guy I compare a lot to Jesse Bates. When you talk about a ball hawk safety, especially in today's NFL where you need those guys who can create turnovers, do not stare down Tyler Newman because he is going to find the ball
every single play. That's what the Nebraska quarterback does right here, and he finds the ball. Look at his instincts right here. He's looking at the quarterback, staring down his receiver, slide, I'm going to jump in front of the little slant route right here, and I'm going to pick it every single time. A little issues with him is his run defense. That's what a lot of questions have come down to. But when you talk about a pure coverage safety, he's going to be that guy in the NFL I could see as well going in the mid-second round.
Absolutely. And then a guy from you, Jeremiah Trotter Jr., dad played in the NFL, has a lot of history. Trotter is a guy that could be a dog. I mean, we're talking about a guy like Trenton Simpson last year from Clemson as well. Slid to the third round. Didn't get a whole lot of playing time this year, but still has a ton of potential and could be a guy going down the line that's huge to be alongside Roquan in place of Patrick Queen. So, Jay, tell me a little about Jeremiah Trotter Jr. here.
Jeremiah Trotter Jr., once again, I mean, he's a guy that has a dad that's a 4-time Pro Bowler with the Eagles. I mean, he has amazing football IQ here, as he knows he just be able to fill out the zone coverage. He has great hands. He can make a play. A lot of people are concerned about his size, but I think he makes up for it with his ability to know concepts, and he just does a great job of filling zones. I mean, at times he takes a little risk filling the alleys when he's making run plays, but I mean, he's just relentless everywhere else, and he knows to be around the ball. He's just got a nose for the ball, and I mean, I think personally he might be one of my steals of the draft.
Yeah, absolutely. Trenton Simpson last year was the same for me. I think that's what we're seeing here again. Obviously, he's been around the game of football. His dad played in the NFL and was, like you said, a 4-time Pro Bowler for Philadelphia, a great player. I can see something like that out of this guy, too.
Yeah, player comp for me, I think, is Nick Bolton, who really became a standout star for the Kansas City Chiefs here in their Super Bowl run as being a real anchor in that defense. And I think he'll be a key if your team needs a middle linebacker. Somebody like the Seahawks, potentially the Steelers, pair him with Patrick Queen. That's a place I like to see him go.
I was just about to say, I think the Steelers would be a great fit for him. Had a lot of injuries in the linebacker position. I think that he would be a perfect pair alongside Patrick Queen. They just gave him a lot of money, so they definitely needed him to come through. Well, Isaiah, you've got a linebacker as well, and you've got the linebacker that probably is going to go first out of all of them. So tell me about, oh my gosh, I just forgot his name. Jalen Ford. We just talked about him earlier. How did I forget? He is a star. Tell me about him.
He is a star, and I think his best trait is that he's from my hometown, Frisco, Texas, so you know he's a good football player. But when you talk about instinctive, quick, look at the blitz right here. He gets on Bryce Young from last season when they played Alabama, and that absolute classic. Look how fast he gets in that blitz, perfectly timed up. I do think he is an athletic monster as well. He can really run side to side, and he's versatile as well. He can play the Mike, the Sam, the Will. He has experience in playing all those positions, and in a league where you need versatile defensive players, I think he is going to be a perfect fit. Personally, I can see the Dallas Cowboys drafting him because Mike Zimmer does love those guys who can blitz as well as cover, and I do think he's going to be very good in the NFL for a while.
And as we talked about earlier, this is a guy from DeSoto, a really, really good player here from the Dallas area. But that's all we have today on the SportsZone Draft Special. Thank you so much for joining us. Be sure to follow our socials at NTTV_sports, and also be sure to tune to the NFL Draft coming up in just a few moments. Have a great weekend, everyone.